Luis Alberto Lopez versus Mick Conlan. This is going to be a good fight. I'm not expecting a crazy amount of action in this one, especially early, but I'm expecting a high-level boxing match, a skillful fight with the finish of somebody's heart and will is going to carry them through. Let's get into it. Let's start with the champion, Lopez. 27 wins, 2 losses, 15 wins by way of knockout. Lopez is a guy that I've been big on in the last few fights. I thought he would have beat Warrington at home, and I just thought he was a better all-around fighter than Josh Warrington. And if he could stay away from some of that Josh Warrington tactics, which we'll talk about very shortly here, then I thought that he would win the fight. And he did. So that was a great win for him because Lopez, man, he is not your typical Mexican fighter. You know, most Mexican styles, not all of them, is they're coming forward, straightforward at you every single round. They're letting their hands go. They'll take a hit to land a hit. That type of aggression, that type of firepower, that type of style. But Lopez is a little bit different than that. He's more patient. He's awkward to fight at times because his shots comes from all different angles. It can come from the left. It can come low. It can come overhead. He can lunge forward with the shot. He can jump into a shot. He just does a lot of unorthodox things, but that works for him. That's what makes him so different. That's what has gotten him success over the years. Not to mention what I liked about his Warrington fight was he went over there to Warrington's backyard and won the fight. So it goes to show that he is no stranger to being away from home in a high pressure situation. His mentality is strong. He's tough, and the pressure isn't going to get to him because this fight is at Mick Conlan's home. That's not going to be something that intimidates Lopez. I actually think that he likes that. He likes to put that added pressure on him, and I think it might even work in his favor. Lopez has a lot of offensive skills in his tool set, man. He sets up his shots very well. He punches in combinations. He's got power. He's got pop in his shots. He throws different shots from all angles. As I said, he's always looking to counter as well. And he's tough to plan for because sometimes you're just not sure what you're going to get or what's going to come your way or where it is going to come from. That's good for him. It works for him, but tricky for his opponents because if you're not fully locked in and dialed in, man, it can be frustrating to fight Lopez. He can also switch up the tempo of the pace quickly. He can be aggressive and apply the pressure, or he can slow it down and take his time. So he can beat you in different ways. Going back to his fight against Josh Warrington, where he won the title, I thought Lopez made that fight a little harder than he needed it to be because Lopez was piecing him up early in the first half of the fight. He was more accurate, sharper puncher, using his jab, giving different looks, but fighting from a bit of a distance and not really too close range. We know that Warrington has a record of doing suspect things. I never want to say a fighter is dirty, but he does some questionable things. And he started doing that as early as like the second and the third round, right? And he was kind of sucking Lopez into fighting his fight. You know, that close range type of fight, that grueling type of fight, right? That fight where, you know, you can use those old veteran tactics from in close. You can put their elbow into their ribs. You can duck and then come up quick. And it looks like a little bit of a accidental head clash. Like those are things that can frustrate opponents. And Warrington, he does what he does very well. And I thought that Lopez got sucked into fighting more of Josh Warrington's fight for a good portion of the second half of that fight before he started to step back a little bit and see what was going on and see what Warrington was trying to do. Lopez needs a little bit of space because he likes to loop his shots and likes to sit down on his punches, and he likes to be at a position where he can lunge in and get his shots off and wind up on them and then be able to get out of where he is at any given moment. Warrington was making it tough because you could see that Lopez was engaging in that game and playing that type of style as well too. He got the win, yes, but in a close fight at his opponent's home, you just never know how it will play out. But this time it played out in his favor that night. But again, Lopez is tough. He's confident. He's skilled. And I think he gets stronger as the fight goes on, more comfortable as the fight goes on. He has a lot of flaws defensively, not a lot of technical things, but he's not the best technical fighter to begin with. That's not his typical style. But you can live with that because he does so many things very well. He hasn't been stopped before before either. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in the ring again and seeing what he can do if he can retain his title against Mick Conlan in his home. Let's talk about his opponent, Michael Conlan. 18 wins, 1 loss, 9 wins by way of knockout. Conlan, man, he's a great technical boxer, and he's respected for that. The 2-time Olympian, right? He was at the same games that I was at in 2012 and 2016, right? And so he was coming out of the amateurs with eyes on him. And you watch Mick Conlan fight, and you can see, like, man, this guy's a beautiful boxer to watch. Good footwork. He's accurate. He's sharp. He's confident. Fighting off the front foot. He's tough to beat. He's just a good, solid technician in the ring. Not a big puncher, right? But he's not a light puncher either, but he's known more for his boxing ability inside the ring. He's a good counter puncher, good anticipation and reflexes inside the ring, smart IQ, and mixes attacks well and sets good traps. Again, the man is just solid. He does a lot of good things inside the ring. And Conlan always starts well, man. Usually outboxing his opponents for the first 5 to 6 rounds comfortably. Right, we go back to his fight against Leigh Wood, and he dropped Leigh Wood in the first round and hurt him again in the second round as well. That left hand was giving Leigh Wood some problems and looked like it really couldn't miss every time that he was putting it forward, especially early in the fight. It seemed like when it was connecting cleanly, but that was a fight where Leigh Wood really kept his composure and fought his way back into the fight. With his skill, yes, but with his heart more, and with his will more. But I also felt that Conlan got a little too comfortable, and he was starting to float through the fight, right? And took a step back from the things that he was having success with early. And that was partially because Wood was finding his groove and making his presence felt. But the longer the fight went on, man, the more Conlan started to fade and Wood started to gain the momentum. And he started to slow down and found himself in trouble and touched the canvas before he ultimately got stopped later in the fight. But he got sucked into fighting Leigh Wood's fight. Conlan isn't a pocket fighter like that, right? He needs to move, he needs to slip and move and have a bit of a space where he can function to his strength and use the ring. But he was on the ropes for a good amount of time. The pressure of Wood got him tired. That didn't help as well too. And the right shot closed out the show. A tired opponent when they're under pressure and shots are coming their way is not a good mix for someone to be able to finish the fight, man. That was a great fight for Leigh Wood. Again, as I said, his heart and his will kept him up to finish the fight. It was a great fight nonetheless. After that, Conlan comes back and comfortably wins the fight against Mariaga, right? Dropped him 3 times in the fight, but got back to his winning form and his winning ways. Always good when you can drop your opponents. Even if you don't stop them and you win dominantly, it just feels good. Then after that, he knocks off Kareem Gwafi in the first round. So not only is Conlan feeling confident, but his power is showing up a little bit more for him. But this is a tricky task for him. Lopez can give him some problems. So who wins? This is a tough one for me personally, right? Because I think some of the rounds are going to be close. I expect Conlan to start quickly as he usually does, keep his distance from Lopez and try and outbox and discourage him early. But Lopez will come on strong. In the second half of the fight, he will be there, right? Where Conlan kind of fades in the second half of the fight. I could see Conlan stealing the early rounds and then holding on to get a decision win, especially if Lopez is fighting more of his style of fight and at a slower pace and doesn't apply the pressure. But I also think Lopez has the potential to stop him later in the fight. But will he go for it? I think Lopez is that type of guy that will go for it, right? He's going to leave this fight and put everything in the ring to make sure that he leaves with his belt. It's his belt. He's not just going to give it away just because his opponent is at home. I think he will do what's needed to do to get the job done, even if that means leaving himself open to being hit. Again, Conlan is also at home, and that always makes things interesting. Even though, right, we just saw Katie Taylor lose at home, it was still a mixed decision win for Cameron, even though I thought it was a clear win for Cameron. So, you know, that always plays into the mix. Now, Conlan is the safe bet, and he's the better technical boxer. But you know what? I like the way Lopez fights. I like his mentality. He's came into other opponents' home before and upset them in their hometown. I like the way how he operates, right? I think he's going to hang around in the early parts, even though he may be losing in the early parts, but he knows, he's going to come on strong in the second half of the fight. And I think Conlan will slow down. And that's when Lopez, I think, will capitalize on it. Conlan is the safe bet. Conlan is at home. You know what I'm saying? That's the safe bet. But I'm rocking with Lopez this weekend, man. I'm rocking with the upset. And still, I think Lopez is going to get the job done. Again, as I said, Conlan is the safe bet. He's the better technical boxer. He's at home, and he has the skills to beat Lopez unanimously, I think. But at the same time, man, when you can go into someone's home country and go into the ring like you own the place, man, to me personally, from my years of professional sport, that does something to you. Every time you go into your opponent's home and you beat them and you hear the crowd, you kind of like that type of pressure. And so I'm leaning with Lopez to win this one. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comments section below. If you would like to support the channel, there's a couple ways you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my Cash App handle will be on screen as well. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel and will be greatly, greatly appreciated. Recently just started membership on the channel. I don't always get to do all the videos you guys suggest in the comments section, but if you become a member, those videos you guys suggest rise to the top and become a priority, and I will do my best to get those done for you. Shout out to everybody holding down the membership section already, man. I appreciate each of you. Shout out to everybody that continues to support the channel, whether it's by donation, whether you watch, whether you like, whether you subscribe, whether you share, whether you comment. I appreciate each of you, man. You guys keep this channel going. Much love always. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.